Well, I've been running my business for over 10 years and doing all the things that I think a lot of business owners do, and that's trying a lot of different iterations of how to scale and do the things that I feel like are most effective with what I want to do. And my business is a pretty fun space to be in. I teach people how to use the fun skills of improv for better communication and connection with their clients or in the workplace. And so it's been a surprisingly hard journey to realize how to grow my company and to not only that, like recognize that I can't do it alone and how to articulate what the things are that I need to grow. And I have known for a really long time that I could probably benefit from a virtual assistant, and in fact had been told many times by people who know and love me that I should unburden myself from having to do it all. But I feel like I kind of white knuckle things and am worried about if people don't do it the same way that I do, or that I might be a burden to people by saying, oh, help me build my vision. And just the idea of handing the reins off can be a little overwhelming for me. And so, yeah, I think the idea of having a VA is something that everyone really should understand and consider, because having one in the short window of time that I have so far has rapidly shifted my ability to focus on the things that I really love to do and actually have people who want to show up for me and they're just as excited about the work. I found myself doing the things over and over that were just not enjoyable. Like the actual tasks are sending out newsletters, doing the build out of my contracts, like, and anything that has to do with a spreadsheet or putting things in order in any type of a grid makes my brain go numb. And so, yeah, really essentially a lot of the behind the scenes parts that get you to where you're actually doing the fun parts. If I were to have hired a VA on my own, I'd still be in the process. I didn't even really know how to start. And from some initial Google searches, even with some guidance and recommendations from people I know in the business space, I would get stuck at the start of like, how do I even write a job description? How do I know how to make sure this person is exactly the right fit? I honestly didn't realize how many different things I could ask for. So I probably wouldn't have, knowing myself and knowing I've had my business for over 10 years and hadn't had one yet, I probably would still be in the weeds. There's a few things that were holding me back from hiring a VA, and they would just cycle in my head. It was not knowing where to find them, not knowing who to trust, not knowing what to ask for. Because there's so many tasks in my business space that I didn't even know how to categorize it. And in fact, it made it almost seem more overwhelming when I tried to zone in. And I really didn't even know where to start. When you first told me about how the Empower Plus program worked, I was like, oh, this sounds perfect, because I just get to show up as me and you guys show up as the experts to connect me to where my needs are going to be met. And that immediately appealed, that I could just show you my cards and you would show me how to play them. And I didn't have to do the work, and I didn't have to deal with the paperwork and coordinating that connection and vetting the people. I mean, every single part of it that you told me, I was like, perfect. Those are the exact things that kept me from starting in the first place. Before, I was definitely nervous. I was super sure that it would not be as transformative as it is. I was like, I know people need VAs, but I didn't think it would be as impactful for me. And I don't know why that is. But going through the process, having all of the details and questions answered even before I had the questions, the process was so smooth, and the after is so much more freeing and an energy shift that I would have never expected. It was a mind shift that I remember early on when you told me about it. I knew I was excited about the potential, and I really spent some time going, in order for it to work, I have to just go all in. And if I'm going to invest in it, then I need to actually let it do what it says it's going to do in the proposal of the idea. And it's been so much more. Like at my after right now is I am still kind of struggling with keeping up because my VA is so efficient and she's coming up with things that I didn't realize, and I'm sure it's in part from all the amazing training that you guys give your VAs. And so yeah, my after is like, it's very relieving. I would say that the application process and actually getting to meet the candidates, I went in with no expectations of my own because this is not an area that I excel at. This is new territory for me. And I think part of the process is that people need to trust that if they don't already have this VA and they're swimming around in circles in their own business, step one is trusting the process. So I simply stepped into it believing and trusting that you said you could deliver these certain things, and you told me what to expect as far as the matching of skills. And I really went into it just for the ride. And I thought it was a fun, very well organized chunk of time. I was blown away by the candidates. I thought it was really fun to hear how much they'd already reviewed and picked things that they really wanted to show up as their best self. I felt like they were very articulate, and even with some language differences, it is evident that they know what they're doing, and that anything they don't know what they're doing, they're ready and excited about expanding their skill set. I thought that was super fun. So I remember you telling me about the candidate process, and that there would be 3 people that I remember, I think you actually said I would probably do well with any of them, and it really was kind of like a personality fit. And at the end of the call, when I met the first 3, I immediately had a hankering, pretty close neck and neck between 2 of them. And it was not hard to make a decision because I genuinely felt like any of the 3 would have been a good fit. I felt like they matched my skill set perfectly, and it just felt like the right people were delivered to my interview space. The most valuable part of this whole process has been that you guys just opened the door and you had all of the tools and resources, and I just got to come be part of it. And I didn't have to do all of the different parts and steps myself. And I knew that if something did go wrong or there wasn't a good match and something went sideways, that you guys would be there as the resource to either help course correct or make whatever necessary changes. It was like everything was just there, and I didn't have to hardly do anything. I just got to enjoy the process. The language barrier it's not really a barrier. I guess I should say that. The language differences are interesting to me. I think it actually opens up my desire to be a good communicator, just because we refer to things differently. And a lot of the languaging that my VA uses is a way more gentle approach than I'm used to, and I like that. I like that she is very detail oriented, and sometimes just the words she chooses are actually a really clever and more human approach to what my work processes are. If anyone is on the fence, I implore them to jump off of it, because this was a huge barrier in me stretching my business and actually scaling the way that I have imagined for a very long time. It is such an easy process and really no risk. I can't imagine why you wouldn't want to do it, because you're going to get a great VA, and if for some reason it ends up not being the right fit, you're going to get a different VA, and either way, your business is going to start expanding in ways that you've been holding yourself back from allowing. And I didn't realize even how many additional components there are to put other pieces together that I hadn't realized I was overspending in some areas and not streamlining all of the different things that I have for software programs. So just like anything, I think it was so eye-opening to me to see one of your free resources about 300 things that a virtual assistant could do. That sent my whole scope of business planning on this really different trajectory of seeing what was possible and where the growth could be down the road. And there's just so much more than just getting a VA when you go this route, because there's a complete platform to streamline your business and to feel like you're in more control of your time and you're not going 5,000 different directions like so many entrepreneurs do.